Kim Do-hun had never been good with silence. It made him nervous. It made him say stupid things. And right now, standing in the grand hall of an alien starship, surrounded by beings who could destroy Earth with a single command, the silence was killing him. He was just a communications officer, a junior one at that. The only reason he stood among admirals and ambassadors was because he had scored highest in xenolinguistics during his academy years. He could learn languages fast. He could understand patterns in speech that others missed. But nobody had warned him that first contact with the Valari Empire would involve so much staring. The Valari were beautiful in a terrifying way. They stood 7 feet tall on average, with silver skin that seemed to glow from within. Their eyes held entire galaxies, swirling with colors that humans had no names for. They moved with a grace that made even the most elegant human dancer look clumsy. And their empress was the most magnificent of them all. Yuna, as she had asked to be called for human convenience, sat upon a throne that floated 3 feet above the polished floor. Her true name contained sounds that human vocal cords could not produce. She wore a crown made of living crystal that shifted and changed with her moods. Her gown seemed woven from starlight itself. When she looked at someone, they felt as if she could see every secret they had ever kept. Right now, she was looking at Do-hun. The negotiations had been going poorly. The Valari were not hostile, but they were not friendly either. They viewed humans as children who had just learned to walk among the stars. Interesting, perhaps. Worthy of study, certainly, but not equals, never equals. Ambassador Kang had been speaking for 3 hours, presenting humanity's case for a trade alliance. The Valari listened without expression. They asked questions that revealed how little they thought of human achievements. Their technology was centuries ahead. Their empire spanned 17 star systems. What could humans possibly offer them? Then Do-hun's translator device made a strange clicking sound and died. The silence that followed was absolute. Every eye in the room turned to him. He felt sweat forming on his forehead. His hands trembled as he tried to restart the device. It refused to cooperate. Ambassador Kang shot him a look that promised severe consequences later. The other human delegates shifted uncomfortably. The Valari watched with something that might have been amusement or contempt, and Empress Yuna continued to stare directly at him. The silence stretched on. 10 seconds. 20. 30. Do-hun's heart pounded so hard he was certain everyone could hear it. His mind raced for something, anything, to fill the void. His mouth opened before his brain could stop it. "You know," he said in Korean, forgetting that his translator was dead, forgetting that he was speaking to the ruler of 17 star systems, forgetting everything except his desperate need to break the silence. "Where I come from, when someone stares at you this long, it usually means you should propose marriage." The human delegation went rigid with horror. Ambassador Kang's face turned pale. Captain Park Yoonji, Do-hun's commanding officer, closed her eyes as if praying for the floor to swallow them all. But Empress Yuna did something unexpected. She smiled. It was a small smile, barely a curve of her silver lips. But it transformed her face from cold majesty to something almost warm. She rose from her floating throne and descended the steps toward Do-hun. Her guards tensed but did not move. She stopped directly in front of him. This close, he could see that her eyes truly did contain stars. Tiny points of light swirled in depths that seemed to go on forever. She smelled like rain on distant worlds, like flowers that had never bloomed on Earth. She leaned close to his ear. "Then wed me," she whispered. Her Korean was perfect. Every syllable, every tone, exactly right. She had understood every word he said. Do-hun's brain stopped working entirely. He stood frozen, mouth hanging open, as the most powerful being he had ever met straightened and turned to address both delegations. "The negotiations are concluded," Empress Yuna announced in the common tongue that all species used for diplomacy. "I have found what I was looking for." The Valari High Council erupted in shocked murmurs. The human delegation looked like they had collectively forgotten how to breathe. Ambassador Kang made a strangled sound that might have been a question. "Your Majesty," one of the Valari counselors spoke up, his silver face twisted with barely concealed outrage. "Surely you cannot mean—" "I can," Yuna interrupted. Her voice carried absolute authority. "I have accepted a proposal of marriage. The ceremony will be arranged." "But he is human," another counselor protested. A primitive. Uh, he is my choice. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Does anyone wish to challenge my right to choose? No one did. Dohun finally found his voice. Wait, he said. I was joking. It was a joke. I didn't actually. Yuna turned back to him. Her galaxy eyes held something he could not identify. Amusement? Interest? Something deeper? Among my people, she said softly, words have weight. What is spoken becomes truth. You offered. I accepted. This is binding under Valari law. But I'm not Valari. You are in Valari space, aboard a Valari ship, speaking to the Valari Empress. Her smile widened slightly. The law applies. Captain Park Yunji stepped forward, her diplomatic training kicking in despite her obvious shock. Your Majesty, there must be some process, some protocol. Our officer did not understand the implications of his words. Then he will learn. Yuna gestured, and two guards moved to flank Dohun. He will be given quarters befitting his new status. The human delegation may remain to discuss the details of the alliance that will follow this union. Alliance? Ambassador Kang finally recovered enough to speak. Of course, when I marry, the Valari Empire gains a new family connection. Humanity will become our kin. Yuna's eyes swept across the stunned human faces. Is this not what you came here seeking? Partnership with my empire? It was. It was exactly what they had come seeking. But not like this. Never like this. Dohun was led away in a daze. The last thing he saw before the doors closed was Captain Park's face. Caught between horror and the dawning realization that her junior officer had just accidentally achieved humanity's greatest diplomatic victory, all because he could not handle silence. In his new quarters, which were larger than his entire family's apartment back on Earth, Kim Dohun sat on a bed that adjusted to his body automatically and tried to understand what had just happened. He had made a joke, a stupid, nervous joke, and now he was engaged to an alien empress. His mother was going to kill him. The quarters they had given Dohun were beautiful beyond anything he had ever seen. The walls shifted colors like a living sunset. The furniture seemed to grow from the floor itself, shaped from some material that was neither wood nor metal nor stone. Windows looked out upon the stars, and he could see distant planets turning slowly in the void. None of it mattered. He could not enjoy any of it. His mind was too busy screaming. For 3 days, no one came to see him. Food appeared on a table that rose from the floor whenever he felt hungry. The food was strange but delicious, adapting to his human taste preferences as if it could read his mind. Perhaps it could. He did not know what Valari technology was capable of. He tried to contact his ship, but his communication devices had been taken. He tried to leave his quarters, but the door would not open. He was not a prisoner, he told himself. He was a guest, a very important guest who happened to be trapped in a beautiful room. On the 4th day, Captain Park Yunji finally came. She looked tired. Dark circles had formed under her eyes, and her usually perfect uniform was slightly wrinkled. She had clearly not slept much since the incident. Sir, Dohun said, jumping to his feet and saluting. Sit down, Dohun. Her voice was heavy with exhaustion. I think we are past formalities at this point. She sat across from him on one of the strange Valari chairs. For a long moment, she simply looked at him, as if trying to understand how this ordinary young man had managed to change the course of human history with one sentence. Tell me exactly what you were thinking, she said finally. I was not thinking. That is the problem. The silence was too much. My translator broke. Everyone was staring. And she was looking at me like... He trailed off, unable to describe those galaxy eyes. Like what? Like she could see inside me. Like she knew things about me that I did not know myself. He shook his head. I panicked. I said something stupid. I always say something stupid when I panic. Captain Park sighed. Well, your stupidity may have just saved humanity. Or doomed it. We are still trying to figure out which. She explained what had happened after he was led away. The Valari High Council had convened an emergency session. Several powerful nobles had objected to the marriage, calling it an insult to their species. One of them, a high lord named Vorath, had been particularly vocal. He had wanted his own daughter to become empress through marriage. This human had stolen that future. But Empress Yuna had silenced all objections. Her word was law. The marriage would proceed. The good news, Captain Park continued, is that she is offering everything we came here to negotiate. Trade agreements, technology sharing, military protection. The Valari Empire will recognize Earth as an ally and partner. And the bad news? The bad news is that you are the price. She leaned forward. Do-hun, I need you to understand something. Among the Valari, spoken intentions are binding contracts. When you made that joke, you entered into a verbal agreement. When she accepted, the contract was sealed. There is no legal way to undo this under Valari law. Do-hun felt sick. So I have to marry her? An alien empress I do not know? Spend my life in a place I do not understand? That is one option. Captain Park's expression softened slightly. But I spoke with her. Privately, she is not what I expected. What do you mean? She says the choice is yours. If you truly do not want this, she will release you from the contract. You will return to the ship, and we will leave Valari space. There will be no alliance, but there will be no war either. Hope flared in Do-hun's chest. Then I can go home? You can. Captain Park paused. But I need you to understand what that means. Without this alliance, humanity remains alone. We have no protection from the other empires out there. Some of them are not as nice as the Valari. Some of them see humans as food, or slaves, or pests to be eliminated. The hope died as quickly as it had appeared. So the choice is between my freedom and humanity's survival? I wish I could tell you otherwise. Do-hun stood and walked to the window. The stars seemed to mock him with their cold light. Somewhere out there, Earth turned on its axis, carrying everyone he had ever loved. His mother who had cried when he left for the academy. His father who had pretended not to cry. His little sister Sohee, who had made him promise to bring back alien souvenirs. Why me? He asked quietly. She could have anyone. Any leader, any diplomat, any hero. Why choose a junior officer who cannot even keep his translator working? I asked her the same thing. Captain Park joined him at the window. She said she has been watching humanity for years, studying us. She found us fascinating but could not understand one thing. What thing? Our humor, our ability to laugh when things go wrong, our tendency to make jokes in the worst moments. Captain Park almost smiled. She said no Valari would ever do what you did. They are too controlled, too careful with their words. But you just said what you felt, without calculation, without agenda, just pure, honest nervousness. That is not a compliment. To her it was. She said it was the most genuine thing she had witnessed in centuries. Captain Park turned to face him. She is not forcing you, Do-hun. She wants you to choose. But she wants you to choose with full understanding of what is being offered. What is being offered? A chance to matter. A chance to be the bridge between two civilizations. A chance to learn things no human has ever learned. See things no human has ever seen. Captain Park's voice grew intense. And yes, a chance to sacrifice everything you know for people you will never meet. Do-hun was silent for a long time. The stars continued their eternal dance outside the window. I want to talk to her, he said finally. Alone. Without guards or counselors or witnesses. Just us. Captain Park nodded. I thought you might. She agreed to that condition. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Whatever you decide, I want you to know that I am proud of you. You did not ask for this burden, but you are carrying it with more grace than most would. After she left, Do-hun waited. He thought about his life, about all the plans he had made, a quiet career in communications, maybe a family someday, a small house on one of the colony worlds. Simple dreams for a simple man. None of those dreams had included marrying an alien empress. But then again, none of those dreams had included saving humanity either. When the door opened again, Empress Yuna stood there alone. No guards, no crown, just her, in a simple gown that still managed to look like captured moonlight. You wish to speak with me, she said. I have questions. I expected nothing less. She stepped inside and the door closed behind her. From what I have learned of humans, questions are how you understand the universe. She sat across from him, and for the first time Do-hun noticed something in her galaxy eyes that he had not seen before. uncertainty. She was as nervous as he was, and somehow that made everything feel slightly more possible. Do-hoon asked her everything. Why she had studied humanity, why she had learned Korean, why she had waited for decades to choose a consort when dozens of powerful Valari nobles had offered themselves, why she had accepted a nervous joke from a nobody. Yuna answered every question with a patience he had not expected. Her voice, which had been cold and commanding in the throne room, became softer in private, almost warm. She told him about her empire. The Valari had not expanded in 400 years. They had grown comfortable, stagnant, convinced of their own superiority. The same families had held power for generations. Nothing changed. Nothing grew. The empire was slowly dying, not from war or disease, but from the simple refusal to evolve. She had tried to change things. As empress, she had pushed for reform, for exploration, for connection with other species. But the traditionalists blocked her at every turn. They did not want change. They wanted the eternal now, the comfortable prison of things as they had always been. And then she had discovered humanity. Your species is only 300 years old as a spacefaring civilization, she said, her galaxy eyes reflecting the starlight. In that time, you have done more, changed more, grown more than my people have in 3,000. You are messy and chaotic and make terrible mistakes, but you learn, you adapt, you refuse to accept that anything is impossible. We are also very good at destroying ourselves, Do-hoon pointed out. Yes, that too. She smiled slightly. But you keep surviving your own destruction. Every time you fall, you get back up. Every time you face extinction, you find a way through. There is something in your species that my people have lost. A fire, a hunger, a refusal to accept defeat. And you think marrying a human will bring that fire to the Valari? I think marrying you will show my people that change is possible, that we can connect with others without losing ourselves, that different does not mean lesser. She leaned forward. But I will not force you. I meant what I said. If you choose to leave, I will let you go. The contract will be dissolved, and you will return to your ship as if nothing happened. But the alliance will not happen. Her voice held no blame. My council will not approve it without the marriage. They see humans as too young, too weak, too primitive. The only way they will accept partnership is if I bind our species together through union. Do-hoon stood and paced the room. His mind was spinning with everything he had learned. This was not just about him anymore. It never had been. This was about two civilizations, two futures, two possible paths forward. What would my life be like, he asked, if I said yes? You would be my consort, my partner. You would have a voice in matters of state, though final authority would remain with me. You would learn our ways, and I would learn yours. We would build something new together. Would I ever see Earth again, my family? As often as you wished. You would not be a prisoner. You would be free to travel, to visit, to maintain your connections. She paused. I am not asking you to stop being human. I am asking you to be human here, with me, and help me remember what my people have forgotten. It was a beautiful vision, and terrifying, and completely insane. I need to talk to my family, Do-hoon said. Can you arrange that? It is already arranged. A quantum relay has been established. You may speak with them whenever you are ready. He was not ready. He would never be ready. But he walked to the communication console anyway. His mother appeared on the screen first, her face wet with tears. She had not stopped crying since she heard the news, according to his father, who appeared next with red-rimmed eyes of his own. They had watched the broadcast from Valari space. They had seen their son standing beside an alien empress. They had no idea what to think. Do-hoon explained everything. The joke, the acceptance, the choice he faced. His mother cried harder. His father went silent, processing. Then his little sister Sohee pushed into the frame. Is she pretty? Sohee demanded. The alien empress. Is she pretty? Sohee, their mother scolded. What? It is an important question. Sohee was 18, old enough to understand the situation, but young enough to cut through all the politics. If my brother is going to marry someone to save humanity, she better be pretty. Despite everything, Dohun laughed. It was the first time he had laughed since this whole mess began. She is beautiful, he admitted. Not like a human, different, but yes, beautiful. Good, So-hee nodded firmly. Then marry her. So-hee. No, listen. His sister's young face became surprisingly serious. Oppa, you always said you wanted to do something that mattered. You always complained that your life was boring, that you were just a small person in a big universe. Well, now the universe is offering you a chance to matter. Are you really going to say no because you are scared? The words hit harder than any argument the diplomats had made. His own dreams, thrown back at him by his little sister. His father finally spoke. Son, your mother and I cannot make this choice for you. We can only tell you that we will love you no matter what you decide. If you come home, we will welcome you. If you stay there, we will find a way to visit. You are our son. Nothing changes that. Not even if I become an alien prince? Not even then. His father almost smiled, though I expect better birthday gifts. The call ended with tears and promises to talk again soon. Dohun sat in silence thinking about So-hee's words, about his father's quiet support, about his mother's love that transcended even the stars between them. He thought about everything Captain Park had said, about everything Yuna had revealed, about the chance being offered and the price being asked. And slowly, a decision formed. He requested another meeting with the Empress. When she arrived, he stood straight and looked directly into her galaxy eyes. I have conditions, he said. Yuna's silver lips curved into a smile. I expected nothing less from a human. Tell me your conditions. First, I want regular contact with Earth, not just visits, but real communication. My family, my friends, my people. I will not cut those ties. Agreed. Second, I want to learn everything. Your history, your technology, your culture. I will not be a decoration on your throne. I will be a true partner or nothing at all. I would want nothing else. Third, I want the alliance to be real, not just words on a treaty, real exchange between our peoples. Students, scientists, artists. I want humans and Valari to actually know each other. That is what I have hoped for all along. Dohun took a deep breath. This was it, the moment that would define the rest of his life. Then I accept. I will marry you. I will be your consort, and I will spend every day trying to be worthy of the chance you have given me. Yuna stepped forward and took his hands. Her skin was cool against his, but not unpleasantly so. Up close, he could see the stars in her eyes more clearly than ever. You already are worthy, she said softly. You just do not know it yet. And somewhere across the galaxy, on a small blue planet called Earth, Kim So-hee pumped her fist in victory and declared that her brother was officially the coolest person in the universe. She was not wrong. The wedding was held on the Valari throne world, a planet so ancient that its name had been forgotten and rebuilt a dozen times. Mountains of crystal rose from seas of liquid silver. Cities floated on clouds of captured light. Everything was beautiful and alien and slightly terrifying. Billions watched the ceremony. Every screen in the Valari Empire showed the event. On Earth, people gathered in public squares and living rooms, watching their species take its first step into a larger universe. History was being made, and everyone knew it. Dohun wore a hybrid outfit that had taken 3 weeks to design. Traditional Korean hanbok in deep blue and white merged with Valari ceremonial armor. The effect was strange but striking. He looked like a bridge between two worlds, which was exactly what he was supposed to be. Yuna's gown was woven from light itself. There was no other way to describe it. When she moved, colors rippled across the fabric like waves on water. Her crown of living crystal had grown new formations for the occasion, reaching toward the sky like frozen flames. She was magnificent. She was terrifying. She was about to become his wife. The ceremony itself was a blend of both cultures. Valari traditions involved the exchange of light, beams of pure energy passing between the couple to symbolize the binding of souls. Human traditions, specifically Korean ones that Dohun's mother had insisted upon, involved bowing to elders and sharing a cup of wine. When the final words were spoken, when the light had been exchanged and the wine had been drunk, Empress Yuna turned to her new consort and did something that shocked everyone watching. She bowed to him. It was a small bow, barely a tilt of her head. But for a Valari Empress to bow to anyone was unthinkable. The gesture sent a message clearer than any words. This human was her equal. This human mattered. The celebration that followed lasted for 3 days. Dohun met more nobles, ambassadors, and dignitaries than he could count. He smiled until his face hurt. He spoke until his voice gave out. And through it all, Yuna stayed by his side, guiding him through the maze of Valari politics with quiet patience. But not everyone was celebrating. High Lord Vorath watched the festivities with cold fury, barely hidden behind a mask of courtesy. He had wanted his daughter to be empress. He had planned for it, schemed for it, spent centuries building alliances toward that goal. And now a human, a primitive creature from a primitive world, had stolen everything. Vorath was not alone in his anger. Many traditionalists shared his views. They saw the marriage as a humiliation, a sign that their empress had lost her mind. They whispered in shadows, plotted in secret, and waited for their chance. Captain Park Yunji, now officially appointed as Earth's ambassador to the Valari Empire, noticed the dark looks. She warned Dohun during a quiet moment at the feast. "You have enemies," she said simply. "Powerful ones." "I know." Dohun had not survived months of Valari politics without learning to read the room. "Vorath hates me. Half the council wishes I would disappear. It is not just about you. It is about what you represent. Change. Evolution. Everything they have resisted for centuries." Yunji's eyes were sharp. "You need allies, Dohun. Real ones. Not just Yuna." "How do I get allies when everyone sees me as an outsider?" "By being what they do not expect." Yunji smiled slightly. "You are human. Use that. We are good at making friends in unexpected places." Dohun thought about her words long after the feast ended. He thought about them as he explored the palace, learning its secrets. He thought about them as he studied Valari history, trying to understand his new home. And he thought about them when he started meeting the younger nobles. Not all Valari were old and set in their ways. Some were young, curious, eager for something different. They had grown up hearing stories of other species, dreaming of worlds beyond their own. They found their society stifling, their elders closed-minded, their futures predetermined. Dohun started inviting them to small gatherings, informal events where he shared human music, human food, human stories. He showed them movies from Earth, laughing at their confusion over human humor. He taught them games, simple things like cards and chess that the Valari had never seen. He talked with them about their dreams, their frustrations, their hopes for something more. Slowly, friendships formed. A young noble named Kira became particularly close, fascinated by human literature. Another named Theron loved human music, spending hours listening to everything from classical to pop. They were not powerful, not yet, but they were loyal, and they talked to others. Word spread through the younger generation. The human prince was not what they expected. He was warm where Valari were cold. He laughed easily. He admitted when he did not understand something, instead of pretending to know everything. He treated servants the same as nobles. He was strange and different, and somehow exactly what they needed. Yuna watched her husband build his network with quiet approval. She had hoped he would find his own place in Valari society, but she had not expected him to succeed so quickly. "You are good at this," she told him one night, as they stood on a balcony watching the moons rise. 3 moons, each a different color, casting strange shadows across the land. "Good at what?" "Making people care about you." She turned to face him. "I chose you for your honesty, your warmth, your inability to hide what you feel. But I did not expect you to turn those qualities into political weapons." Dohun laughed nervously. "I am not trying to be political. I am just trying to make friends." "That is what makes it work." Yuna's galaxy eyes held something that might have been affection. "You do not calculate. You simply connect. It is very human." 6 months passed. The alliance between Earth and the Valari Empire grew stronger. Technology began flowing between the two civilizations. Human scientists marveled at Valari advances. Valari scholars studied human creativity with growing fascination. Exchange programs started. students traveling between worlds to learn from each other. Do-hoon settled into his role as consort. It was not easy. There were still nobles who despised him, still traditions he struggled to understand, still moments when he felt desperately alone despite being surrounded by millions. But he was learning, growing, becoming something more than the nervous communications officer who had made a stupid joke. And then Vorath made his move. It happened at a ceremonial feast, one of the great gatherings where nobles from across the empire came to pay respects to the empress. Do-hoon had grown comfortable at such events, learning to navigate the complex social currents. He did not see the danger coming. The first sign was a servant approaching with a drink. Nothing unusual. Servants brought refreshments all the time. But something in the servant's eyes made Do-hoon pause. Something desperate, something afraid. Before Do-hoon could react, Yuna was there. She moved faster than he had ever seen anyone move, placing herself between him and the servant. The drink splashed across her chest. The servant fled. For a moment, nothing happened. Yuna stood perfectly still, looking down at the spreading stain on her gown. Then she swayed and collapsed. Chaos erupted. Guards seized the servant before he could escape. Nobles screamed and scattered. Do-hoon caught Yuna as she fell, his heart shattering at the sight of her silver skin flickering, dimming, losing its inner light. "Yuna!" He cradled her in his arms. "Yuna, stay with me." Her galaxy eyes, usually so bright, were fading, but she managed to smile. "I do not regret choosing you," she whispered. "You showed me what I had forgotten, that power means nothing without warmth." Her eyes closed. The Empress of 17 star systems lay dying in the arms of a human who had loved her, and the universe held its breath. The medical wing of the palace had never seen so much activity. Valari doctors rushed through corridors, their silver faces tight with fear. Guards stood at every door, every window, every possible entrance. The Empire was on lockdown, and at the center of it all, Empress Yuna lay dying. The toxin was something no one had seen before. It had been engineered specifically to attack human cellular structure, designed to kill Do-hoon in seconds. But Yuna had taken the poison meant for him. Her Valari biology was fighting it, but the battle was slowly being lost. Her luminescent skin flickered like a dying star. Her breathing grew weaker by the hour. Do-hoon refused to leave her side. The doctors tried to remove him, arguing that he needed rest, that he was in the way, that there was nothing he could do. He ignored them all. He held her hand, feeling the coolness of her skin grow colder, and prayed to every god he knew. Captain Park Yoonji came with news. The servant had confessed under interrogation. He was a member of Vorath's household, recruited years ago for exactly this purpose. The toxin had been developed in secret laboratories, tested on captured humans from border conflicts. Vorath had planned everything. "He wanted to kill you," Yoonji said, her voice heavy with anger. "Make it look like an accident, then blame the death on human incompatibility with Valari food or drink. The alliance would have ended. The traditionalists would have regained power. But Yuna took the poison instead. She saw something we did not. She moved before anyone else could react." Yoonji paused. "She saved your life, Do-hoon, and now she is dying." The words felt like broken glass in his throat. "Because of me. Because of Vorath." Yoonji gripped his shoulder. "Do not lose yourself in guilt. She made her choice. Now we have to make ours." Vorath had been arrested, along with his co-conspirators. The evidence was overwhelming, but that did not save Yuna. That did not undo the poison spreading through her system. Valari medicine was advanced beyond anything Earth possessed, but it was designed for Valari bodies. The toxin was something new, something alien, something that attacked from angles their doctors had never considered. Every treatment they tried failed. Every approach made things worse. On the second day, Yuna opened her eyes briefly. Do-hoon leaned close, hope flaring in his chest. "Still here," she murmured. "Stubborn human. I am not leaving you. I know." Her smile was weak but real. "That is why I chose you." She slipped back into unconsciousness. The doctors said she might not wake again. Do-hoon stood at the window of the medical chamber, watching the alien stars and feeling more helpless than he had ever felt in his life. He had left everything behind for her. His home, his family, his entire world. And now she was slipping away, and there was nothing he could do. Or was there? He turned to Unji. Contact Earth, now. Get me Director Cho. What are you planning? I am going to ask for help. The quantum relay connected within minutes. Director Cho Mira appeared on the screen, her face drawn with concern. She had been monitoring the situation from Earth, coordinating the government's response to the crisis. Lieutenant Kim, she said, the entire planet is praying for your wife. I need more than prayers. Do-hoon's voice was steady despite the fear eating at his heart. I need doctors, scientists, every experimental treatment we have. The Valari cannot cure her, but maybe humans can. The toxin was designed to kill humans. Our medicine was designed to save humans, to adapt, to overcome. He leaned toward the screen. Director, humanity has spent its entire history fighting death. We have cured diseases that should have wiped us out. We have brought people back from the edge of the grave. We do not give up. We never give up. That is what makes us human. Director Cho was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. I will send everything we have. Every doctor, every treatment, every piece of equipment that might help. She paused. But you should know, the journey will take time. Even at maximum speed, our ships will need at least a week to arrive. Then make it faster. Lieutenant, she is dying. The words exploded from him with all the grief and terror he had been holding back. Every hour she fades a little more. Every day she gets weaker. I cannot watch her die slowly while help crawls toward us. The outburst would have earned him a court-martial under normal circumstances. But these were not normal circumstances, and Director Cho understood. I will see what can be done, she said softly. Hold on, Lieutenant. Help is coming. The call ended. Do-hoon returned to Yuna's bedside and took her hand again. They are coming, he whispered to her unconscious form. My people are coming. Just hold on. Please hold on. He did not know if she could hear him. He did not know if it mattered. But he kept talking anyway, telling her about Earth, about his childhood, about the life he wanted to build with her. He talked until his voice gave out, then rested and talked some more. On the third day, something unexpected happened. Young Lord Kira arrived at the medical wing with a delegation of junior nobles. They were the friends Do-hoon had made during his months on the throne world, the young Valari who had listened to his music and shared his stories. We want to help, Kira said simply. What can you do? Our elders have given up on finding a cure. They say the toxin is too advanced, too specialized, but they are only looking at Valari solutions. Kira's silver eyes burned with determination. You showed us that different is not lesser. Human approaches might work where ours have failed. They had brought data, centuries of Valari medical research, translated and organized for human scientists. They had arranged for dedicated communication channels, allowing real-time collaboration between Earth and the throne world. They had done everything they could think of to bridge the gap between their peoples. Why? Do-hoon asked. You could lose everything if the traditionalists regain power. Your families, your positions, your futures. Because she believed in us, Theron answered. Because you believed in us. Because if we let her die without fighting, we do not deserve the future she was building. Do-hoon looked at these young aliens who had become his friends, and for the first time in days he felt something like hope. When Earth ships finally arrived, they carried more than just doctors and equipment. They carried the combined knowledge of humanity's entire medical history, every experimental treatment that had ever shown promise, every wild theory that had ever been proposed. They carried scientists who had volunteered to travel faster than safely recommended, risking their own lives to reach the Empress in time. They carried humanity's refusal to accept defeat. Dr. Baek Jiwoo was among them, a xenobiologist who had dedicated her career to understanding alien physiology. She had studied Valari biology for years, dreaming of exactly this kind of collaboration. Now that dream had become a desperate race against death. The toxin attacks cellular regeneration, she explained after 3 days of intense analysis. It stops the body from healing itself. Valari medicine has been trying to fight the toxin directly, but it mutates too quickly. We need a different approach. What approach? Do-hoon asked. Human stem cell treatments, modified for Valari biology? She pulled up holographic displays showing complex biological processes. We do not fight the toxin, we restart the regeneration process. Give her body the tools to heal itself. Has this ever been attempted? Never. Dr. Back's face was grim but determined. The risk is enormous. It might not work. It might make things worse. But it is the only idea we have left. Dohun looked at Yuna, lying still and pale on the medical bed. Her skin barely glowed at all now. Her breathing was so shallow he sometimes thought it had stopped entirely. Do it, he said. The procedure took 72 hours. Human and Valari doctors worked side by side, combining their knowledge in ways neither species had imagined possible. Dohun stayed through every moment, holding Yuna's hand, talking to her, refusing to let her go. On the third day, her eyes opened. They were dim at first, flickering like candles in a storm, but slowly, steadily, the galaxy light returned. Her skin began to glow again. Her breathing deepened. She looked at Dohun and smiled. "Stubborn human," she whispered. "You saved me." Tears streamed down his face. "We saved you, all of us, together." Outside the medical wing, word spread like wildfire. The Empress was alive. Human medicine had succeeded where Valari medicine had failed. The young nobles cheered. The traditionalists fell silent. And somewhere across the galaxy, on a small blue planet called Earth, billions of people celebrated a victory that proved their species was no longer alone. Humanity had reached for the stars and found a partner worth fighting for. Recovery was slow. Even with a successful treatment, Yuna's body needed time to heal. She spent weeks in the medical wing, growing stronger each day, but still far from the powerful Empress who had commanded 17 star systems. Dohun rarely left her side. He read to her from human books, played her music from Earth, told her stories about his childhood that made her smile. He learned to braid her silver hair, a simple act of care that meant more than any grand gesture. He held her hand through the painful moments when the healing hurt, and celebrated with her through the small victories when she walked again, spoke again, laughed again. But outside the medical wing, the Empire was transforming. Vorath's conspiracy had been laid bare. The evidence was undeniable. Names, dates, plans, everything documented with the precision that Valari culture demanded. High Lord Vorath and his co-conspirators were tried before the full council, found guilty, and stripped of all titles and properties. Their houses were dissolved, their descendants scattered to the far reaches of the Empire. It was the largest fall from power in Valari history, and it left a vacuum that the younger generation was eager to fill. Kira, Theron, and the other nobles who had helped during the crisis found themselves suddenly elevated. Their loyalty to the Empress, their willingness to work with humans, their courage to stand against tradition had been noticed. Councils that had been dominated by old families for centuries now included young voices calling for change. And everywhere the story spread. Human medicine had saved the Valari Empress. It was a simple truth, but it changed everything. The species that traditionalists had dismissed as primitive had accomplished what the most advanced Valari doctors could not. Human creativity, human determination, human refusal to accept defeat had won where Valari perfection had failed. Dr. Bayek Jiwoo became a celebrity across both civilizations. She was invited to establish a joint medical research facility on the Throne World, a place where human and Valari scientists would work together to combine their knowledge. She accepted immediately, already dreaming of the discoveries they would make. Ambassador Park Yunji worked tirelessly to expand the alliance. Trade agreements that had been stalled for months were suddenly approved. Technology sharing increased dramatically. Exchange programs that had faced resistance now had waiting lists. The attempted assassination had achieved the opposite of its goal. Instead of driving humans and Valari apart, it had bound them closer together. And through it all, Dohun waited for his wife to heal. 1 month after the treatment, Yuna was finally strong enough to leave the medical wing. She insisted on walking on her own, though Dohun stayed close in case she faltered. Her steps were slow but steady. Her skin glowed with recovered light. Her galaxy eyes had regained their depth. They walked together through the palace gardens, past fountains of liquid light and flowers that sang in frequencies beyond human hearing. It was the first time they had been truly alone since the assassination attempt. "I have been thinking," Una said softly. "Dangerous habit." She smiled at the familiar human joke. "I have been thinking about what I want to say to my people. How to explain what happened. What it means for our future." "What does it mean?" She stopped walking and turned to face him. In the garden light, she looked both ancient and young, powerful and vulnerable. The Empress and the woman combined into one being that Do-hoon had come to love more than he had ever thought possible. "It means everything changes," she said. "My people have lived in isolation for too long. We convinced ourselves that we were the pinnacle of civilization, that no other species could match us. That pride nearly killed me. Valari medicine tried everything. It was not a failure of effort. It was a failure of vision." Her voice grew stronger. "We only looked at the problem through Valari eyes. We never considered that other approaches might work. It took humans, species we dismissed as children, to show us what we had forgotten, that there are many paths to any destination." She started walking again, her pace more confident now. "I am going to address my people. All of them. Every system. Every world. Every citizen. I am going to tell them what happened and what it taught me. And I am going to announce a new era for our empire." "What kind of era?" "One of openness, of learning, of growth." She looked at him with those endless eyes. "Your people have a saying, when one door closes, another opens. My people never learned that. We simply stared at the closed door, insisting it would open if we waited long enough. You taught us to look for other doors." The address was delivered 3 days later, broadcast across the empire and transmitted to Earth. Billions watched as Empress Yuna, fully recovered and radiating authority, stood before her throne and spoke. She told them everything. The assassination attempt, the poison designed to kill humans, the conspiracy by those who feared change, and the miracle of human medicine that had saved her life. "I have ruled this empire for 200 years, she said. "In that time, I have made many decisions, some good and some poor. But the best decision I ever made was accepting the proposal of a nervous human officer who could not handle silence." Across the galaxy, Do-hoon felt his face burn with embarrassment. His mother was definitely going to bring this up at every family gathering for the rest of his life. "He taught me something I had forgotten," Yuna continued. "That connection is more important than control. That warmth matters more than power. That the courage to be vulnerable is the greatest strength of all." She announced the new policies: expanded alliance with Earth, open borders for exchange and trade, joint research in medicine, technology and culture, and most importantly, a constitutional change that would allow representatives from allied species to have voices in Valari governance. The traditionalists who remained protested. They called it the end of Valari supremacy, the death of their civilization, but their voices were drowned out by the cheers of younger generations who had been waiting for exactly this moment. After the address, Do-hoon found Yuna in their private chambers, exhausted but glowing with satisfaction. She had removed her crown and changed into simple clothing. She looked more like the woman he had talked with through the night than the Empress who commanded stars. "That was quite a speech," he said. "I had a good teacher." She pulled him close. "You showed me what humanity can do when it refuses to give up. Now I want to show the universe what Valari and humans can do together." "What can we do?" "Anything." She smiled, and in that smile, Do-hoon saw the future she was building. "Everything. The universe is vast and full of wonders. It is time we stopped hiding in our little corners and started exploring together." She told him about her plans: ships with mixed crews, Valari and human working side by side, colonies on new worlds, built by both species, technologies merged and improved through collaboration, art, music, literature that combined the best of both cultures. "It will take generations," she admitted. "Change this big does not happen quickly. But it starts now. It starts with us." Do-hoon thought about the nervous communications officer who had made a stupid joke what felt like a lifetime ago. That person seemed so small now, so limited. He had become something more than he had ever imagined possible. "I have a condition," he said, echoing his words from their first real conversation. Yuna raised an eyebrow. "Another one? This one is simple." He took her hands in his. "Whatever we build, whatever we become, we do it together. Not as empress and consort, not as Valari and human, as partners, as equals, as, he searched for the right word, as family, she finished. Yes, as family. She kissed him then, soft and warm and full of promise. Outside, the moons rose over a changed empire, and somewhere among the stars, a future beyond anything either species had imagined was waiting to be born. 5 years had passed since a nervous lieutenant made a joke that changed the galaxy. Kim Do-hoon stood on the balcony of the Imperial Palace, watching twin suns set over a capital city that had transformed beyond recognition. Mixed couples walked the streets below, human and Valari together. Signs displayed both languages. Music from Earth played in cafes that served food from 17 different star systems. The universe had changed, and he had helped change it. Behind him, in the chambers they shared, Yuna was putting their daughter to bed. Hana was 3 years old now, the first child ever born from the union of human and Valari biology. She had her mother's silver hair and her father's warm brown eyes. She could speak both languages, though she often mixed them together in ways that made everyone laugh. She was the future made flesh, proof that different did not mean incompatible, that two species could come together and create something new, something beautiful, something that neither could have achieved alone. Do-hoon listened to Yuna singing a lullaby, a Korean melody his own mother had sung to him as a child. He had taught it to his wife, who had taught it to their daughter. 3 generations connected across the stars. When Yuna joined him on the balcony, he pulled her close. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the colors paint the sky. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked. "Earth, your old life, the person you were before?" "Sometime," he admitted. "I miss my mother's cooking. I miss walking in rain that is actually water. I miss understanding every joke without needing translation." He paused. "But I would not trade what I have now for any of it. Even when the council meetings go on for 8 hours? Even then," he smiled, "though I might take a shorter version of those." She laughed, and the sound was still one of his favorite things in the universe. A chime announced a visitor. Admiral Park Yoonji entered, her uniform decorated with medals from both Earth and the Valari Empire. She had risen far in 5 years, becoming one of the most respected military leaders in the Alliance. But to Do-hoon, she would always be the captain who had guided him through the most confusing time of his life. "Sorry to interrupt," she said, "but we have news." "What kind of news?" "The consortium of Tal has sent envoys. They want to discuss joining the Alliance." Do-hoon felt his eyebrows rise. The consortium was a collection of species from the far reaches of the galaxy, known for their isolation and distrust of outsiders. They had watched the Valari-Human alliance from a distance, neither approving nor condemning. For them to seek contact now was significant. "What changed their mind?" Yuna asked. "You did. Both of you." Yoonji pulled up a holographic display showing the envoy's message. "They have been watching us for years, studying the alliance. They expected it to fail. They thought humans were too young, Valari too proud, the differences too vast. Instead, they watched us grow stronger together. They watched us survive an assassination attempt that should have torn us apart. They watched us build something new." She expanded the display to show a map of the galaxy. "Word is spreading. Other species are taking notice. The Valari-Human alliance is becoming the model for what cooperation can achieve. These envoys are just the beginning. There will be more." Do-hoon looked at the map, at all the worlds and civilizations it represented. 5 years ago, he had been a nobody, a junior officer, a man with small dreams and modest ambitions. Now he was part of something that could reshape the entire galaxy. "How did this happen?" he murmured. "You made a joke," Yunji said dryly, and she said yes. "That is not what I meant." "I know." Her expression softened. "It happened because you were willing to try, because when everyone told you it was impossible, you asked what if instead. That is what humans do best. We imagine futures that do not exist yet, and then we make them real." After Yunji left to prepare for the envoy's arrival, Do-hoon and Yuna returned to their chambers. Hana was asleep, her tiny chest rising and falling in peaceful rhythm. She clutched a stuffed toy that looked like neither a human animal nor a Valari creature, but something in between. a gift from her grandmother on Earth, designed by her grandmother's Valari friend. She will grow up in a different universe than either of us knew, Una said softly. A universe where humans and Valari are family, where species that have never met will be friends, where the stars are connected instead of divided. Is that what you saw? Dohun asked. When you accepted my joke, is this what you imagine? No, she turned to face him. I imagined something smaller, a partnership, an alliance, a beginning. Her galaxy eyes reflected their sleeping daughter. I never imagined this. A family, a child, a future that neither of our species could have created alone. Are you disappointed? I am amazed. She took his hands. You asked me once why I chose you, a nervous officer who could not control his own words. I told you I wanted your honesty, your warmth, your humanity. But I did not tell you everything. What did you leave out? Hope. The word hung in the air between them. I chose you because you gave me hope. My people had lost it centuries ago. We stopped believing that things could be different. But you, with your stupid joke and your trembling hands, you believed. You believed that a human and a Valari could understand each other, that two species could become one family, that the impossible could become real. Dohan thought about the path that had led him here. Every terrifying moment, every difficult choice, every time he had wanted to give up. He thought about the people who had helped him along the way. Captain Park, Dr. Beck, Kira and Theron, his family on Earth who had supported him across the stars. He thought about Una, who had seen something in him that he had not seen in himself. The universe is vast, he said slowly, and it is easy to feel small in it, to think that one person cannot make a difference, that the way things are is the way they will always be. He pulled her close. But we did make a difference. We changed things, not because we were powerful or important, but because we tried. Because we believed, she agreed, because we loved. They stood together in the soft glow of their daughter's nightlight, two beings from different worlds who had become one family. Outside, the universe stretched endlessly in all directions, full of wonders waiting to be discovered. Other species would join their alliance. Other couples would follow their example. Other children would be born between the stars. The future was vast and uncertain and magnificent, and it had all started with a joke. When the envoys arrived the next day, they asked Kim Do-hun a simple question. How had humanity changed the galaxy so quickly? They expected a complex answer about politics, technology, or strategy. Instead, he smiled and told them the truth. We just said what we were thinking. It turns out that is all anyone ever needed to do. Be honest, be open, be willing to look silly in front of strangers. The universe is full of beings waiting to connect. They are just scared to make the first move. And you were not scared? I was terrified, he admitted, but I was more scared of silence than embarrassment. So I opened my mouth and said something stupid. And the most amazing person in the universe decided that my stupidity was worth loving. The envoys exchanged glances. One of them made a sound that might have been laughter. Your species is strange, the lead envoy said. We know, Dohan grinned, but we are also kind of wonderful. Give us a chance, and we will prove it. Later that evening, as celebrations erupted across the capital to welcome the new potential members of the alliance, Dohun found a quiet moment alone with his family. Yuna held Hana, who was awake and curious about all the lights and sounds. The three of them watched the festivities from their balcony, a human, a Valari, and the child who was both. What do you think she will become? Dohun asked, looking at his daughter. Anything she wants, Yuna replied. Everything we dreamed. She has your courage and my power, your warmth and my wisdom. She is the best of both of us, and she will make her own future. Hana looked up at her parents with eyes that held both galaxies and Earth. She did not understand the words they spoke or the weight of the moment. She only knew that she was loved, that she was safe, that she was home. And in the end, that was all any of them had ever really needed. The universe was vast. The stars were endless. The future was uncertain. But as long as they faced it together, as long as they kept reaching for each other across the void, they would be okay. They would be more than okay. They would be wonderful. And it had all started with a simple truth. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is open your mouth and say what you are feeling, even when you are afraid, especially when you are afraid, because that is how connections are made. That is how futures are built. That is how two strangers become family and how family becomes everything. Kim Do-hoon had learned that lesson the hard way, through fear and doubt and impossible choices, but he had learned it, and he would never forget.